Hey there, this is David from the True Blue Sand Blog, and today we're going to look at Biltmore sticks a little bit. Biltmore sticks are used for measuring the diameter of trees. It's a very common forestry tool, and this one came from forestry suppliers. These are pretty generic. They're low cost. They work well. These are designed to be held at 25 inches from your eye. The way they work, you're supposed to have a 25-inch reach. You hold the stick up against the tree, so just imagine the trees between me and the camera. Put that up against the tree, and you line this left side up with the bark on the left side of the tree, and then holding your head still, you roll your eye around. So this is the way it would look if you were the tree. I look at the left side. That's lined up with the left side of the bark, and I roll my eye around. And wherever the bark crosses over here, that shows you the diameter. They work really well. Most trees aren't perfectly round, so you'll measure from a couple different angles on a tree to figure the right diameter. If a tree is really egg-shaped, you'll get out your diameter tape. I carry one of these little tapes. It has a diameter tape on the back side. It's a 10-foot tape. Lowe's used to sell them. Now you have to go to Amazon. But they have a diameter scale on the back side, and you whip that around the tree, and it will show you the diameter directly on that. And that's a way you can kind of calibrate your own eye to the stick. One of the problems with a Biltmore stick is most people don't have a perfect 25-inch reach. If you're a small person, you're going to be less than that. And there is a formula. If you look in your forest measurements book, there's a formula in there to figure the numbers for these. And the other problem with a Biltmore stick is you've still got to carry something to thump the tree. You need to be able to sound trees on a regular basis so you can know if they're solid or not. If you're tallying timber or doing inventory work, you need to know if the trees are good or not. And a hatchet has its own problems. A hatchet has square corners. You thump a tree with that and you'll kill a little spot in the cambium if you hit it too hard. So I started using a tomahawk. Tomahawks work really well. They're round cornered. They stay tight because if they start to loosen, they slide up and they're tight. And so what I do is I've been making these for many years. This is a tomahawk with a handmade handle. Make a long handle out of hickory, and this becomes your Biltmore stick and tree sounder all in one. And this one's a little bit special too. I made this one for my replacement when I retired, and it's a young lady who is a small person. She's got 23-inch reach, so I figured the numbers for her, and I just finished this a couple days ago, and I'm going to give it to her next week. So that has the diameters there. And the other Biltmore stick also has on the back side what they call a merit hypsometer. Yeah, merit hypsometer. And that is a scale to show you how many logs are in a tree. You can see there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and in Illinois you aren't going to find too many 5-log trees. But the way this works is you pace out 66 feet from the tree. That's one surveyor's chain. You pace out 66 feet from the tree, and you hold your stick out. It's kind of a trick to do, is pace out 66 feet from the tree, and you have to be in a spot where you can see both where the stump height will be and where your cutoff point will be up on the tree. And when you're lined up where you can see both of those, you roll your head back. It's really important. Roll your head back. because you got to hold your head still when you're doing this. You roll your head back, line the bottom of the stick up with the stump height, and then roll your eye up to the cutoff point. And for instance, if the cutoff point comes right there, that's a 3-log tree, or 48 feet. If it was up there, it'd be a 4-log tree. And so anyway, that's the Merit hypsometer. And what I do on these, when I do these, I've got the hypsometer numbers right here. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And if you do the numbers, you know, if you run your numbers through the little formula, which I'll post that at the end. I'll put that at the end of this thing. If you use that formula and make your own stick, you'll actually measure much better than if you buy a store-bought stick. And I found that out more than 40 years ago. The way I like to hold a stick, you need to know how you're going to hold the stick and have somebody help you with that. I always like to hold the stick in my fingers like that. I'll have my thumb on one side, fingers on the other. That's the way I like to hold a stick. Some guys like to hold a stick like that. They'll put their fist around it. But I always like to do it with my fingers on one side and thumb on the other. And that goes right up against the tree. So what you do, hold a stick just the way you want to hold it. And mine, for 25-inch reach, I'll have just a little bow, a little bend in my arm. And have a buddy take a tape measure, put that tape right at the corner of your eye, and see how far out it is. And when you get that number, when you get that distance measured, you can make a stick that'll fit you just perfectly. Now, there's one other thing that's really special about this stick. I had the New Forester get her reach measured, and it was 23 inches. And I told her I'd get started on this, and she said to me, she says, "I'm left-handed." And I had to think a minute. I said, "You mean you want a left-handed Biltmore stick?" And she said, "Yeah, I'd like a left-handed Biltmore stick." So there are the numbers. They run the other way. So she can put this up with her left hand and read the numbers out the other way. I think as far as I know, that's the only left-handed Biltmore stick in existence, and it's also got right hand. So this is an ambidextrous model, and came out really nice. This one has this is made out of tiger stripe hickory wood. You see it has a nice figure on there, and you won't find very much hickory like that. If you want to make one of these, what you do is go to the hardware store and look at sledgehammer handles, and find a sledgehammer handle that has really nice straight grain. It needs to be nice and straight, because if you get one with a crook in it, when you're thumping trees, it'll eventually break, because just the vibration time after time will eventually break it if it's got a crook in there. You want the grain, you want the growth rings to be across the wood this way. And so you look at them critically. Most of your hammer handles are going to have the grain in there right, but look at them critically, because if you do it right, it'll never wear out. If they're running across sideways or at an angle, they're likely to break at some point when you're thumping trees. And I started out making these with a draw knife. That's very slow and just takes a lot of time. And what I do now, I use an angle grinder with a flapper disc with a coarse sandpaper flappers on it. And you can work this out pretty quick. Leave your top end on the hammer so you have something you can lock in a vise, or on the handle. Leave the top end on it, and as you start working this up, you you take a little off one side, a little off the other. You keep working that tomahawk head up, and you know, it's good to, you know, just work on it, move it an inch or two in a session, because you want to keep it straight. You don't want to get in a hurry. And this one's not perfect. The hammer handle had just a little wrinkle in it. It's pretty good, but take it up a little bit at a time. These tomahawk heads that I use, this is the Old Reliable head that you can get from Track of the Wolf up in Minnesota. You can look them up online. Track of the Wolf, and they sell these with a couple different length handles, but they're both too short for measuring timber. And what you do after you've got this all carved out and varnished and ready to go together, coat the inside of this head with release agent, and you coat the stick with Brownell's Acra-Glass gel. That's an epoxy mix, and slide that on there and let it cure for a day. And what that does is it makes this just a perfect fit. You know, it will get rid of any low spots, and that head will stay right there through years and years of thumping trees. And if you ever need it out, the release agent inside there will let it pop loose. So that's a product they sell for bedding rifle actions, but I've been using that for years to make these tomahawk heads stay tight on the stick. So anyway, left-handed Biltmore stick, or an ambidextrous Biltmore stick, and we'll move this up. We'll see if, let me see if I can get this 25 inches from the tree. It's kind of hard to do trying to see get my eye right at the same distance. Yeah, I gotta get my glasses on so I can make this work for you. Yeah, we're pretty close here. It's not perfect, but there we go. Yeah, what you do is you line the left side of that stick up with the tree, and let me loosen this. Line the left side up with the tree, and without moving your head, you roll your eye, and then where this crosses out here, there we gotta go to tree scale. Where it crosses out here, it says it's right about 26 inches. And with this new stick, here we'll look at it with the left-handed stick. This is a 23-inch stick. It's 23-inch reach, so I got to move it in a little closer. Yeah, line that up there. Roll over here and see where that. And yeah, it's showing 24, 26. Anyway, I tried this. I have to measure it and get the right distance from my eye, and it's right on the money. So anyway, or you can put it. So anyway, ambidextrous Biltmore stick. Yeah, I think Scout Crafter would approve of this tool. I'm going to send this to him, and I'm going to do a shout out to him, make sure he sees this. Anyway, a lot of fun. It's always fun measuring trees, and when you sound a tree, let me turn this around where I can see. When you sound a tree, you don't hit it hard. I tell people you give tree, when you're sounding a tree, you give it love taps. I like to put my hand right on the tree and just give it love taps like that. If it's hollow, you'll feel it vibrate. It makes a different noise, and every species is different too. Like white oak has a different kind of bark than a black oak or a red oak, so they sound different. But and hickory, if you hit a hickory hard, it sounds like a rifle cracking. If you hit a black gum, it sounds like you're hitting a dead drum. Every black gum sounds hollow. Yellow poplar is real hard to tell, but your oaks and hickories, they're real easy to tell. Most trees are, but when you're sounding a tree, don't hit it hard. You don't want to damage the cambium in there. And anyway, we'll post that formula to get your diameters, And remember, when you're doing this, you line that one end of the stick up with the left side of the tree, and then roll your eye. Don't move your head. Roll your eye to get your reading. And same thing when you're doing the hypsometer. Tip your head back, put the bottom of the stump, roll your eye up. Don't move your head. If you move your head, you've changed that distance. Like, you know, I try to get 25 inches. Well, then if I turn my head, I've changed it to 30 or 32 inches. If I turn my head, and it won't read right. So anyway, that's a fun little project, and I made about 40 of these over the years for various people I know, and every one of them kind of comes out different. And if you ever find a piece of hickory with that tiger stripe, grab onto it. It's very rare, hard to find. Anyway, thanks for visiting, and we'll see you all later.